Superselect is Mitsubishi's four-wheel drive system, which allows us to shift on the fly while we're moving from 2H, two-wheel drive, to 4H, all-wheel drive, to 4HLC, four-wheel drive. There are indicators built into the dash, which shows us the state of the Superselect system on the right-hand side of the dash. Green lights means that the sensors in the system have detected that whatever mode we've selected has been successfully implemented by the gears. And flashing lights indicate that there's a discrepancy between what we've selected and what's actually been implemented in the gears that are doing the work on the vehicle. Normally, with flashing lights, when you drive these vehicles, you get used to the idea that you just have to add a little bit of gas or back off the gas or perhaps back up a little bit to get out of four-wheel drive. And then the torque in the system will be relaxed and the gears will be able to move freely. But sometimes we can't get the blinking to resolve, leaving us to wonder, well, what mode is the four-wheel drive system actually in right now? For example, if I'm deep out in the desert, I want to know that the van is in four-wheel drive, regardless of what the indicators are telling me on the dash. And if we're driving home 1,000 kilometers on asphalt, I want to know that it's in two-wheel drive. And once we get back home, knowing what mode the van is in is really useful because we can identify if it's just a sensor issue or if there's actually something wrong in the mechanism. So we're going to go through a fairly simple test procedure for two-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, and four-wheel drive that you can do in your garage or on the road to figure out what four-wheel drive mode you're in when you decide you can't trust your indicators. These tests are done with the parking brake set, the transmission in neutral, and the engine running. We test two-wheel drive by putting the transfer case in 2H, and we should be able to freely turn the front drive shaft, and this confirms that the transfer case is in two-wheel drive and the front axle is unlocked as well. If we can't get the front drive shaft to rotate, we can help it by unloading the gears, by jacking up the front right wheel and just rotating it back and forth a little bit to allow the gear mechanism to slide properly. We test all-wheel drive by putting the transfer case into 4H. We have the front right wheel jacked up, and we use our tire iron to slowly rotate this wheel, and we can feel there's a lot of drag in the system. I'm putting a lot of weight on here, but it still continues to move. And this confirms that there is power being transmitted to the front axle, but it's through the viscous coupling in the transfer case. So this is what we expect to see from all-wheel drive. Finally, we can test four-wheel drive by putting the transfer case into 4HLC, and we'll feel on the front right wheel that there's no give here. This is now a metal-to-metal connection to the back wheels. This is what we expect from four-wheel drive. There's no motion. And if you want to test 4-low, 4LLC, you'll see an identical behavior from that as well. It's not good practice to drive with the indicators flashing. If I think I'm in four-wheel drive and I'm not, I'll get stuck. Opposite extreme, driving on asphalt in four-wheel drive will cause tremendous damage to the drivetrain. If you can't trust the indicators, this test is a quick way to identify what mode your Mitsubishi is in.